This conference will now be recorded.
All right, welcome everyone to the Montachusett MMPO meeting of March 19th. I'm going to turn it over to Brian to read the roll.
I have Steve Wolfel, Mass DOT.
Steve Wolfel, representing Secretary and CEO of MassDOT, Monica Tibbetts not here.
Ian Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Ann Sullivan, MassDOT District 3 Project Development Engineer, representing Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Mark Pammarini, Leominster. I can see you, Mark. I can't hear you, though.
All right.
I can hear you now. I got you now.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I'm here.
Laura Schifrin, MRPC.
Laura Schifrin here.
Bruno Fisher, Mark.
Bruno Fisher, Met Administrator here.
And I see just one subregion, Subregion 2, alternate Brian Callahan.
Here.
Okay, thank you. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you again and welcome. I'll move on to agenda item 2. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the MPO today? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 3, which is approval of the February 19th minutes. Can I get a motion second to approve, please?
Laura
So
Schifrin,
moved.
make the
Go
motion.
ahead, Laura.
I'll make the motion to approve. I think there's a second.
I'll second. Ann Sullivan.
All right, any changes or comments on the minutes? All right, seeing none, Brian, you want to read the roll?
Steve Wolfel, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ian Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mark Pammarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Laura Schifrin, MRPC.
Yes.
Bruno Fisher, Mark.
Yes.
Brian Callahan, Subregion 2.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We'll now move on to the next agenda item, which is, I believe it's tip stuff.
Yes.
Is agenda item 4, the 2025 to 2029 tip. Brian, you want to take it away?
Agenda item 4, we have no actions today. This is a placeholder.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is development of the 2026 or 2030 tip. And I'm assuming we want to do this one, right, Brian, to get ready?
Yep.
So, all right,
Yep,
take it away.
I'll take this. So we have a development update for March. This is the anticipation of developing the 26 through 30 transportation improvement program. We've been working on this for the last several months. We're at the stage now. We have updated all of our project statuses, been in contact with a number of project proponents, Mass DOT, design consultants, municipalities. We've gone over our updates with this group last month in terms of project status. This month, the plan is to go over a few different scenarios in our regional target section where the MPO has discretion over project placement. And once we come to a consensus on a recommended scenario, we will develop that into a draft document for review for next month for this group to release for a 21-day public comment. So this is where we're at in the schedule now in March. What you see here is a variation of a handout that we had last month. This is basically our updated status list of all of our regional target projects. This is sort of a hybrid list. It includes federal fiscal years 2025 through 2030. For this exercise, we'll be dropping federal fiscal year 25 and adding in 2030. The idea is to add projects from the appendix into this list. I'll give a short update on these statuses. A lot has not changed since we discussed this last month, but we'll be considering this when we look at the scenarios after this list. In 2025, currently we have Leominster reconstruction rehab of Route 12. This project is on schedule. We will not have to consider this again this year when we drop 2025. However, Harvard resurfacing and box widening on Air Road, as I mentioned in the last few meetings, there's some concern with the design status with this, in this case, right away. We don't think it's ready, going to be ready for 2025. So both scenarios today we'll be looking at moving this project back. As for currently in 2026, we have the second half of this Harvard resurfacing project. This is advanced constructed over 2 seasons. In 26, along with Harvard, we have Ashburnham Road Rehab on 101, much like Harvard, due to issues with design. We are anticipating the need to move this project back at least 1 year. In this case, environmental regulation obligations come into play. We don't expect it to be ready in 2026. In 27, the first project we have is Templeton reconstruction of 68. Again, there's concerns with the design progress of this project. This project is currently, much like Harvard, advanced constructed over 2 seasons in 2027 and 28. Historically, this project has moved back several times. I believe it was listed originally in the tip in federal fiscal year 2021 or 22. It's consistently moved back every year. It's kind of stalled at the 25% design phase. District 2, along with us, have been reaching out to the town, along with its design consultant, on updates on this. It seems to have stalled. We'll be looking to move this project back more than 1 year. And in fact, in one scenario, we'll be looking at moving this off the list into the appendix. In 2027, along with Templeton, we have Clinton reconstruction of Sterling Street, which is on schedule. Athol intersection improvements 2A at Brookside Road, which is on schedule. In 28, we have the second half of the Templeton Route 68 project, along with Fitchburg reconstruction of John Fitch Highway, which is on schedule, and Sterling intersection improvements 140 and 62, which is on schedule. In 2029, currently we have Air Road Rehab, Route 2A and 111 on schedule. Athol sidewalk installation on Templeton Road on schedule. Winchendon intersection improvements in Blair Square on schedule. And as I mentioned, 2030 is the year we'll be looking to backfill from the appendix. So again, we're looking today to review 2 of these scenarios that we've prepared for the group, with the idea that we can come to a consensus on which is the better scenario to move forward into the draft version of the tip. Admittedly, there are hundreds of different scenarios to consider, but upon review and consultation with project proponents, we've come up with these 2 for consideration today. Welcome to any suggestions. If anyone has additional project updates on their project, those are welcome. And feel free to reach out to myself in the coming weeks as well. The idea is that we'll develop a draft tip and have that available a week before next month's meeting. So scenario 1 of 2, this scenario looks to move 4 projects back on the list, move 1 project from the appendix into federal fiscal year 2030. So in this scenario, we'll have the Harvard resurfacing and box widening on Air Road project. Currently, this is placed in 25 and 26. We'll be moving this back 1 year to 26 and 27. Again, due to we do not believe it'll be ready to go out to bid in 2025. In 27, we have Ashburnham Road Rehab on 101. This is currently placed in 26. As I mentioned, due to concerns with design status, we'll be looking at moving this back 1 year to 2027, this scenario. Along with Clinton reconstruction of Sterling Street, Route 62. We'll see no movement on this project. It's on schedule in the second half of the Harvard project. In 2028, Athol intersection improvements 2A and Brookside Road. Currently, this project is listed in 2027, and there are no concerns with design. However, unfortunately, this is sort of a casualty of moving projects back on the list. It pushes things further back. In this case, if we did keep it in 2027, we would not be within our budget. We would not be within fiscal constraint, which is a requirement. As I mentioned, unfortunately, it's a casualty due to moving other projects around. It'll be the same in scenario 2 as well with this Athol project. Next year, when we revisit this list again, we'll have the opportunity to update all project statuses and reconsider placement. In 2028, along with Athol, we have Fitchburg reconstruction of John Fitch Highway, Sterling intersection improvements on 140 and 62. These projects won't see any movement. They're on schedule. 2029, we have the Templeton reconstruction of 68 project. This project was moved back 2 years in this scenario from where it's currently placed in federal fiscal years 27 and 28. We'll place in scenario 1 federal fiscal year 29 and 30 for this Templeton project. Again, there's concerns, major concerns about design status and the progress of this project that's been around for a number of years. Along with that project in 29, we have Air Road rehab on 2A 111, Athol sidewalk installation on Templeton Road, and Winchinen intersection improvements at Blair Square. Those 3 projects, Air, Athol, and Winchinen, see no movement. They're on schedule. They're good to go for 2029. In 2030, the additional year we're considering for this tip, the second half of the Templeton reconstruction project on 68, along with one project brought up from the appendix, in this case, Westminster Roundabout Construction 2A at Bathwick Road, which leaves us 4 projects remaining unscheduled in what we call the appendix of the tip, future candidates for placement. Scenario 2 of 2. The scenario looks at moving 3 projects back, move 1 project off the current schedule into the appendix, Templeton in this case, and move 2 appendix projects into federal fiscal year 2030. So largely, this scenario is the same in the first few federal fiscal years as scenario 1. Harvard resurfacing and box widening is listed in 2026 and 27. Again, that's moved back 1 year. Ashburnham in 2027, road rehab on 101, along with Clinton, reconstruction of Sterling Street. In 28, we have the Athol intersection improvements 2A and Brookside Road moved back 1 year from where it's currently placed, along with Fitchburg reconstruction of John Fitch Highway and Sterling intersection improvements 140 and 62. Excuse me. In 2029, it remains the same as the current tip. Air Road rehab on 2A and 111. Athol sidewalk installation on Templeton Road and Winchinen intersection improvements at Blair Square, all in 2029. Again, they're all on schedule and no movement on those projects. In 2030, in this scenario, we are able to move 2 projects from the appendix into federal fiscal year 2030. Lunenburg safety improvements 2A and Electric Ave, and roundabout construction in Westminster, Route 2A and Bathwick Road. That leaves Templeton, a project that's currently placed in federal fiscal years 27 and 28 in the appendix in this scenario. Again, that is not something that happens often, a project coming off the list in the appendix, but due to the history of this project, concern with design, that's something we feel necessary to consider in at least one scenario this year. With that being said, we have these 2 scenarios for consideration. MPO staff would probably prefer scenario number 1. However, this is still a relatively fluid list of projects as of right now. As I mentioned before, we're looking to develop one of these scenarios into a draft tip, which we'd make available to members a week before the April meeting. So if there's any questions or comments or suggestions, I can try to answer any questions now, or feel free to reach out in the coming weeks as well.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Brian or any thoughts or ideas? All right. So Brian, we have no comments. So I guess as folks are able to digest this more, please reach out to Brian as he's going to put together scenarios or at least a staff recommendation for the next meeting, correct, Brian?
That's right, and we'll make sure we get the full draft document to members a week before the meeting next month.
Okay. All right, last call. Any questions or thoughts, suggestions? All right. So get your thoughts into Brian for next month, please. All right, next item on agenda is agenda item 6, which is UPWP development. Are you doing this, Brian, or is Sherry doing it?
Yep, I'll do this as well. So much like the tip, we've been working on the UPWP the last several months. We're developing our federal fiscal year 26 program. And as a reminder, the Unified Planning Work Program is another federally required document for the MPO. This is more or less MPO staff work program for next federal fiscal year. So everything we'll be working on. We've gone over some of this in the last few months. As I mentioned, same type of schedule as with the tip. We plan on having a full draft document available a week before next month's meeting. We would like to release that for a 21-day public comment period in April. As of right now, that's the thought. What we have today is a draft table of contents for this document, just so people have a better understanding of exactly what's in here before you get the full actual document next month. You can see the table of contents here. The kind of the first quarter of it is comprised of a lot of analysis and federal requirements to have in here. Mentions various legislation and initiatives and analysis that we're required to have. When you get down a little bit further into the UPWP tasks, these are the actual tasks that the staff works on throughout the program year. You might remember back in January, we began our solicitation process where we solicited communities for potential projects. We've gone through that process. We've closed that phase, and we begin to develop our task lists. And I'll just briefly go over and highlight each one of these so people have an understanding of exactly what's in here. UPWP task number 1.1, supportive 3C process. This is kind of an all-encompassing type of task. This allows us to run the MPO meetings, the joint transportation meetings, collaborate with various state and federal agencies and local municipalities throughout the year on a number of different issues. Task 1.2, Unified Planning Work Program. We're required to have this in here. There's a certain amount of planning and work that goes into developing this program. So that's basically has its own task within this. Regional Transportation Plan Update 1.3. The Regional Transportation Plan, or the RTP, is sort of the major document that the MPO does. You might remember our process that we went through a few years ago in 2023 when we last endorsed an RTP. Basically, it's a snapshot of our transportation network in the Montachusett region. And we project 20 years into the future to determine trends and try to come up with some ways to plan for the future. This is the very beginning stage of this planning phase for the 2028 plan. There's a lot of outreach that goes into this, so we'd like to start the process in federal fiscal year 26. Development of the Transportation Improvement Program. Again, one of our main responsibilities as NPO staff is to sort of shepherd the tip through the development process and deal with amendments as they come up and that type of thing. And that's its own standalone task within this work program. Environmental justice in Title VI. This carries some reporting requirements that we have as an NPO in relation to these populations. So that has its own task. 2.1, regional demographics. You might be familiar with our Mr. Mapper app on our website. This is sort of like the public-facing data app that we have and maintain and update throughout the year, and that's what this task is all about. GIS mapping and analysis. We have a geographic information system department. We offer data analysis and mapping to our communities. It also informs some of our projects in-house as well. 2.3 data collection and analysis program. This is more or less our traffic counting program, among other things. We have, I think this year, 60 traffic counts. We do turn movement counts at intersections. These inform the reports that we do. We also take requests for communities, and we have a number of counts that we do for Mass DOT as well. Pavement management systems is another data analysis program. We survey all federal aid eligible miles of roads in the Montachusett region. There are over 660 miles. We conduct surveys on pavement condition, and that will, from that, we develop trends on overall pavement condition to inform our long range planning efforts. Performance measures, 2.5. This is sort of a small task that allows us to update our data that informs our performance measures. The performance measures that we have are set in our long range plan. We revisit those every year, and those are kind of indicators to tell us whether we're on track or not. 2.6 trail inventory update. A number of years ago, we had a pretty comprehensive trail inventory throughout the region. We have that on our Mr. Mapper system. You can access that on our website. We're looking to update that next federal fiscal year. We'll be reaching out to various trail owners, municipalities. We'll be looking at changes in trail access, ownership. And this is important not only just for recreational purposes, but also it'll help inform emergency services. If somebody's lost in the woods or something like that, it's nice to have a comprehensive mapping and analysis data system for this. Corridor analysis 3.1. This stemmed from a request from the town of Shirley. They are requesting we look at the section of 2A near Bull Run Restaurant, if you're familiar for that with that area. There are a few intersections and concerns with traffic in the area. So under this corridor analysis, we'll take sort of a transportation engineering lens. We'll look at a number of different aspects and try to come up with some improvement measures. This could end up in being a TIP project in the future, or possibly we'll be locating some funding for improvements in other areas. Transportation resiliency. This has existed for a number of years. Currently, it's listed as climate change. Basically, this program looks at infrastructure in the region, transportation infrastructure, and its vulnerability to things like flooding. We inventory bridges and roads and assess their flooding risk. This informs our own planning processes and our evaluation criteria in-house. We also use it for long-term trends analysis. Active transportation plan. We'll be taking a look at bike and ped facilities throughout the region. Try to have a sort of a central clearinghouse of needs. Try to identify some locations that could use some improvement under this program. The SS4A Safety Action Plan update. This is directly related to our Safe Streets for All grant that we were awarded from the federal highway. It's currently underway. We plan on having a safety action plan in place by September. We'll be bringing that before the MPO for our approval at that point. What having that plan in place will allow us to do is to go after some funding to implement some of the projects that we identify within the plan. So under this task, we'll offer support to communities to go after some of that funding and navigate through those processes. Transportation equity and public involvement. Again, this is kind of a catch-all type of task. Throughout the year, it's tough to anticipate exactly what's going to come our way. In past years, we've become involved in various work forces or task forces as they come into play. Neshoba Valley Working Group being one this year. We've provided some information to that group. The Northern Tier Passenger Rail Working Group we've been involved with in past. Route 2 Safety Task Force in the past. So this is kind of a way for us to be involved with those groups. The future of mobility 4.2, this is a continuation of a task that exists right now. We've been collaborating with a number of different entities in the region. It's kind of a public-private type of partnership. We've been trying to assess needs in the transit system, mobility in general. This past year, we assisted in attaining a grant for the recreation of the Regional Coordinating Council. We're currently working to develop a transportation management area with some of the schools in the area and also some of the private industries to try to determine if we can get some additional resources to people looking to get to work, that type of thing. So we'll continue that effort under this task. Technical assistance to MART 4.3, another catch-all type of task. Various requests come from MART throughout the year. A lot of it is like data analysis and mapping. So that's carried under this task. And finally, Transit Resource Guide. This is another, upon consultation from MART, we came up with this project. Basically, there's a need for sort of like a central location for all transit resources in the region, not only for in-house use, but also to make available to the public as well. So this is an effort to kind of better coordinate that. So this is kind of our rough draft table of contents for this document. Each of these tasks are spelled out in much greater detail within the actual document, which, as I mentioned, we'll send out a week before the April meeting with the idea that we'll vote to release that for public comment next month. Are there any questions on any of these tasks or the process itself?
Anyone have any questions for Brian? All right, Brian, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next agenda item, which are the updates. The first one is from the Highway Division. Why don't we go D3 first?
Okay. So looking at 2025, the first project on the tip is Leominster Route 12. That was advertised last year, so that's AC'd over this year into 2025. We've had the pre-con on that project, and they're starting to gear up for the summer, spring and summer. Harvard, as Brian noted, won't make 2025, and will need to move out. It is at 100%. The PS&E is due in June. Right of way is really the critical path on that, and we've had a lot of back and forth with the on some of the environmental things that have also been a challenge for us and for the town. Hubbardston, Williamsville Road over Burnshort River, 609187. That's at PS&E. Just waiting on the 401 and 404 environmental permits. Those have been filed, waiting for those to come in, and we need to get the right-of-way cert. Sterling, stormwater drainage improvements at the Wachusett Reservoir on Route 110, 610659. That is at PS&E. The right-of-way cert has been issued. We just need to make some kind of tweaks on the permitting to kind of address Army Corps and DEP concerns. Gardner, Elm Street, resurfacing and sidewalk improvements, part of a Safe Routes to School project, 610672. That project is at PS&E, and we're just looking for the right-of-way cert on that before we can advertise. Fitchburg Leominster is also on the 2025 tip, the Twin City Rail Trail construction. That was advertised last year, and this is the AC second half of the funding for the project. That NTP was issued to ET&L in December, and we've started to have our pre-cons and starting to try to get that ready to start again for this construction season. That's it for me.
All right, anyone have any questions for Ann? All right, thanks, Ann. D2, I think Daryl, probably.
Yes, good afternoon. So for FY26, we've got a non-target project 612151. That's Athol, the bridge replacement, Main Street. Route 2A over G&W Railroad. The design is at 25%. The railroad agreement was signed and executed. The bridge type selection worksheet was submitted on December 20th. Review comments were completed on January 22nd, and a public info meeting was held on February 19th this year. Next milestone we're waiting for is the 25% design submission, which is due on May 3rd. Next, we have in FY27 the Athol Project 608415. This is the intersection improvements at Route 2A and Brookside Road. This design bridge type selection worksheet was submitted on January 23rd. Revised 1 review comments were completed on February 25th. And the next we're waiting for the latest schedule dated January 10th indicated a 25 design submission was due yesterday. We understand the designer needs some additional time to complete this, and we're awaiting updates from the project manager. Next, we have Project 608424. This is Templeton reconstruction of Route 68 from King Philip Trail north of the Phillipston Town line. This was discussed. This is at 75%. The designer met with the municipality back in September to discuss additional scope and contract amendment. As of this week, update on project status have been requested, and as we understand, the town is waiting for an updated contract proposal from their design consultant. We haven't received any news since. And that's all I have for now.
All right, anyone have any questions for Daryl? All right, thank you, Daryl.
Thank
Next update is transit. Anyone, either Bruno or anyone else, have any transit updates? George?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First thing, I want to go back to the minute of last month. There should be a correction on page 5 under my update or above my update was Montachusett Joint Transportation Committee. Should be Montachusett Regional Transit Authority, MART. Thank you. And the other thing I have for today is last month, MART start a new service to Emerson Hospital from running a shuttle from Shirley, Air, and Harvard. And people, they start using it, going to work in Emerson Hospital and to the clinic. The other thing we are doing right now is we are MART staff reviewing and evaluation of our bus routes in Fitchburg and Leominster to make our routes shorter and more frequency to the route. We did that last year in Gardner and Atoll, and people really using it, and our ridership increased by 15 to 20%, and we add a new route to that Gardner too with the new bus. And this is what we are doing today. Hopefully this year we'll finish improving our bus routes in Fitchburg and Leominster and provide the ridership and our client more frequent service and more buses on the routes. With our evaluation, we're not eliminating any service at all, but we are using more frequent and more service. Thank you.
All right, anyone have any questions for George? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I had my hand up. Laura Schifrin for George. Just wondered if you gave any consideration. I believe there was a request for a stop at the senior center in Townsend for the Emerson Medical Services. Was there anything about that was there any outcome to that?
Yes, we can do that as we mentioned in our email to the town. We need a request from the town because there will be some assessment to the service from Townsend to Shirley, because the grant we have from Mass DOT, it is only to service the area from Shirley, Air, Hartford to Emerson. Townsend wasn't included in the grant, but we could provide a service to connect to this shuttle from Townsend, but with an assessment, and we could do it on demand too.
Right. Okay. I knew the on-demand part. Was there any um, estimate of what the charge might be? Because we're thinking that that would probably be for the user.
Oh,
So,
for the user, there is no, it is a free service, but will be an assessment to the town.
okay.
And I already sent the estimate to the town.
Okay.
We
Oh,
are we are waiting for their response.
okay. I okay. I don't remember seeing it, but I'll make sure
Uh,
that the selectmen are aware.
okay, I will send it to you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All
That's it.
right. Other questions for George? And on that earlier change to the minutes, as long as the person that made the motion and second were fine, I think it's fine. It was really just a Scribner's error. So,
I'm good
Sure.
with that.
Yeah, we can make that. We can
Yeah,
make that change.
all right. Okay. All
I was,
right. George, thank you. We'll
Thank
now
you.
move on to the JTC. Anything, Brian, from the JTC?
Yep, just that we met last week. We've been reviewing the UPWP and TIP stuff as we typically do. We'll do the same next month at their meeting, April 9th at 2:30. Maybe remote, maybe in person, depends on what happens with open meeting law. And we'll continue that next month. I do have a handout we're sharing. This is design public hearing related to a number of projects in Leominster. Uh, April 1st at Leominster City Hall at 6 p.m. And this is in relation to the flooding event that happened in September of 2023. You may remember they got like 9 inches of rain overnight. A number of infrastructures were wiped out. So this design public hearing is in relation to those projects. Again, April 1st, 6 o'clock at City Hall. That's all I have.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Brian? All right. RPC, anything from RPC? I don't see, is Glenn on?
He's not on, but he left me with a short update.
Yep.
Basically, until further notice, due to continuing uncertainty with the availability of federal funding, MRPC has entered into a hiring and funding freeze. Basically, we have a number of federal contracts, EDA, among other things, and it's a fluid situation. I think everyone's aware. So, with that being said, we're currently under a hiring and funding freeze, just so everyone's aware.
Anyone have any questions for Brian on that?
no questions, just a comment.
Oh.
Townsend is also under a hiring freeze. We do not have enough income to support what we're doing now.
Okay.
Just an
Anyone
aside.
else? Sorry, Lauren. Anyone else? All right. We'll now move on to agenda item 8, which is administrative matters. The first one is open meeting law. Brian, do you have anything? I think Schuster and I might have heard something while we were in the meeting. So,
That'd be great. I mean, I was hoping that someone would say. I just got to notice that the
oh,
current rules are extended forever. But aside from that, there's a chance we may be in person next month. We'll have to follow up on that. As you're aware, the open meeting law extension that allows us to do this remotely is that's up on March 31st. So we'll see next month. We haven't had these meetings in person in 5 years, so we'll work on getting some hybrid type of situation. Really appreciate everyone being at these meetings. I know it's not easy at 1:00, right in the middle of a work week, especially coming from all over the region. So we appreciate everyone attending here and allowing us to have a quorum. Next month, we'll have a number of action items. We'll be releasing 2 documents for public comment period. We'll likely have a number of tip amendments. So, we'll make every effort as a staff to get people on board to attend the meeting. Hopefully, we get some good news between then and now, but there is a chance it will be in person next month.
So just so I was wrong, Schuster, you didn't get it. So I know one of the other MPOs asked Schuster about does the board, have to take a vote? And David has heard that there is a chance they might be extending it by 2 years. So we need to do what Brian says and get ready in case it's a hybrid meeting. But that's the first news we've heard in the office in a little while that there's going to be extended. Like we had heard about it around March and January. So everyone needs to plan accordingly for hybrid, as Brian said. And as soon as we know if this can be confirmed and it's finalized, we'll let everyone know. So we did have
Great.
an update, Brian. So you're throwing it out there as a hope. Worked out pretty well, all right, for today. So
I'll put it back on the agenda for March of 2027 meeting.
There you go. That's fine.
In any event, we'll follow through with some additional information just so people are aware of exactly what we need to do next month. So thank you again.
All right.
Next meeting will be scheduled for April 16th.
All right.
Of
As
the
Brian
MPO.
said, just be on the lookout for the more information about how we're going to be holding it. I think with that, unless anyone has any questions, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn, please?
So moved, Ann.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you next month when we start moving in haste with all our certification documents. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.